It is day 48 of my writer's journey, and I just wanted to record a quick video saying how much wisdom there is in this advice that you don't go back on your writing when you're in the middle of writing your first draft. I did, and I do think that I had reasons. And most of them have to do with the fact that I thought that I could survive with a minimum of plotting and outlining. And I discovered that I was writing myself into a corner because I need more clarity on where I want my characters to go, where I want the story to go. So yes, I did went back multiple times actually to insert things in the first few chapters. But I'm now at a point where I'm thinking, enough. This is not helpful because there is so much more that I need to explore. And I will never get there anytime soon if I keep revising based on where I think the story is going. One of the experiences that has surprised me a lot is that the story has a mind of its own. My characters have a mind of their own. And so it's very likely that if I keep revising these first few chapters and inserting all sorts of foreshadowing elements and complications and world building, I'm preparing for a story that will never materialize in this form because the story creates itself to a certain point. So how is this going to impact my way forward? I've decided to start each new act, you could say. So I'm currently wrapping up the first act of the book, which for me is the most important one because it sets the tone, it gives my characters a motivation for the rest of the story. And I have a lot of ideas for the rest of the book, but this was by far the hardest part of the story to get done. But then what I want to do is, before I start writing the second act, I'm going to have 1 or 2 days where I only do plotting. I'm going to try to outline as much as I can in as much detail as I can, and then I will not stop myself anymore. So I will continue to act upon that outline and write that entire act without going back. I think this will help me find a good balance between the need for good outlining, good plotting, but also keeps the momentum. And I want to do that again for the third act. And then, of course, the final act is going to require the most plotting and outlining because that's probably, when it comes to writing, the hardest. It's going to be the hardest thing because it's going to involve this big finale, this huge confrontation between Ty and Orla and Neve and Brendan and everything they've learned along the way. And now they have to apply that in their final confrontation with the Grand Master. And not to mention that they also have to reconcile with Felix and find a way forward as friends. None of that, I think, is currently part of my experience. How do you say that? I have never written something like that, and so that feels extremely daunting. But again, it's no use thinking of that right now, because there's only one way to master this kind of writing, and that's by doing it and then going back and doing it again and revising it and editing it. So what I think is the hardest part about this whole writing process is to trust the process, to trust myself, and to give myself leeway to learn while doing, because there's no other way to learn this. You cannot learn how to write just by watching YouTube tutorials. Believe me, I've tried, and I still do. It's not to say that none of these videos are helpful, quite on the contrary, but they are not going to write your story for you. So I keep reminding myself that even though watching all those tutorials and going back and refining, and there's always an argument for doing that, but none of those arguments replace the sheer necessity of having to sit down and write that act. It's not going to write itself. So I'm sharing that with you because I'm telling myself that. Stay on target. Keep... And the necessity to plot, that's okay. I think I need it. I'm not a pantser. At least I'm a little bit of a pantser, but I'm mostly a plotter. But I'm only going to allow myself to do that for a very limited amount of time, 1 or 2 days, and then on to the next act. Here's hoping. Thanks for following me along, and we'll talk tomorrow.